All right, I'll call to order the special meeting of May 8th of the Ellsworth City Council. All council members are present with Councilor Hanson participating remotely. And just to remind the public that we do have a remote participation policy, so she's in compliance with that, and it will be able to vote this evening. Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3, rules of order. We follow Robert's Rules of Order and all of the other rules that are adopted by the council along the way. Item 4 is citizens' comments. If anybody would like to make any comments about non-agenda items? Agenda items, you will have a chance to speak at that time. So seeing none, we will move right into, we have no unfinished business, we have no consent agenda, so we'll move right into the new business. So I am turning it over to Superintendent.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Tonight, I'll do just kind of an abridged version of the budget, since we have presented several times. First and foremost, you have the budget worksheet in front of you. That has not changed since our last meeting together. So for our FY24 budget, you'll see an increase of 6.24% in our budget. And I think it's important to show in that 91.2% of that is fixed costs, things that we have to pay regardless, and 8.8% of that budget are our variable costs, things that people need, supplies, professional development, things of that nature. So I think that's really important for people to understand. I think it's also important for people to understand that this budget currently does not include loss of teaching positions, but it was the loss of non-teaching positions. In addition, a lot of the things that we wanted to look to change and improve upon, things like pre-K, were kept out of this budget to try to keep the impact to taxpayers down at our current time. I think it's also important, I know this gained a lot of traction in the Ellsworth American and got a lot of calls and feedback about our per pupil expenditures. I think it's important for taxpayers to understand that the statewide average for pupil expenses, per pupil expenses, is $17,999. And in Ellsworth, we are at $15,712, making us the lowest in Hancock County. And as we discussed last time, that's not something that, to me, I would like to sustain long-term. I would not want us at the bottom for that, for a school department. But I do think it's important because I think sometimes taxpayers and citizens who maybe aren't as familiar with the school department think that we have high costs per pupil, when in fact we do not. So I think that's important for people to understand as well. I think probably one of the biggest things that I want to talk about, if you look at the budget, so our grand total expenses, as I said, are up 6.24%, but I want to talk about the local share and the revenues so that the public understands. So in order for us to receive our state subsidy allocation, our local contribution is $7.973 million, which is an increase of $90,000. And in order to get to our budget, we need an additional local appropriation of $5,043,000. So the grand total local appropriation is the $13,469,000, which is an increase of 16.95%. So for people that don't maybe understand how state subsidy works, in order for us to receive our state subsidy allocation, taxpayers are required to raise a certain amount, which is the $7.9 million. And then for us to get to our budget, we need an additional $5 million. What we did with this budget was we increased our balance forward. Originally, we had talked about putting $500,000 from this year towards that, and we've increased that to $750,000. We've also come to an agreement with area superintendents to charge an assessment for CTE, and that includes $60,000. We're going to use $90,000 in CTE fund balance. So again, we receive different subsidy for career and technical education. That's above and beyond the state subsidy that we receive. Part of this budget and what you will vote on tonight is the creation of reserve accounts. I've put these up on the screen for you to see. We feel very important, and after attending a Drummond and Woodson legal training on Friday, we were really encouraged that everyone should have special education reserves and to continue building those over time, because nationally and statewide, special education numbers are exploding after COVID. And so that there isn't an impact on taxpayers every year to pay for those legal requirements that we have to pay for. It's important to have a reserve account so when those expenses pop up, we can draw off on those reserve accounts rather than constantly impacting our local budget. Also looking for $100,000 in a transportation reserve account line and $200,000 in a capital improvement line. And then CTE, because the career and technical budget for Hancock County Technical Center is considered outside of the regular budget, looking to do a reserve account for HCTC of $100,000. And with how old that building is and the problems we have year after year with that, we also think that's the responsible thing to do, so that some of these surprise expenses don't impact taxpayers on the local side. So I am open to questions. If people have further questions or things that have maybe popped up since the last time I presented that you may want to ask at all.
Seeing none?
Okay. Okay.
So before the council begins discussion, I'll just open it to anybody from the public who wants to speak. Do that now. Seeing none, we'll now open it up for the council.
Is this the motion?
Those are the, yes. Then asked to,
Do you want to start it, or?
Do you have to have the public hearing first, or do you make them?
well, I was just going to start with general discussion to see if the council had any general discussion, then I'll go through the formal process. Okay, seeing none? Okay, then we'll formally open up the public hearing. Public hearing is open. Again, if anybody would like to specifically speak on this item, you may do so. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. And now.
Okay. So item A, move approval, let's see, City Council Order 050823A, ordered that the city will appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and to see what sum the municipality will raise as a municipality's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20A, Section 15688, in the amount of $7,973,447.67.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? And Councilor Hanson, are you in favor?
I vote in favor.
Okay. All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes with one abstention.
Okay. B, City Council Order 050823B, ordered that the city will raise and appropriate for the annual payments on debt service previously approved by the legislative body for non-state funded school construction projects or non-state funded portions of school construction projects in addition to the funds appropriated as the local share of the school administrative unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, in the amount of $85,784.74.
Have a motion?
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Counselor Hanson? Oh,
Yeah, I'm in favor.
yeah. Opposed? And abstention. Motion passes with one abstention.
C, City Council Order 050823C, ordered that the City of Ellsworth raise and appropriate $5,043,643,000. It's doggone it. Sorry.
Don't,
All right, let's
Amy
try
will
this
correct
one
you.
more time. I'm sorry. $5,043,607.22 in additional local funds, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by $5,043,607.22 as required to fund the budget recommended by the school board. There's a question mark after that. Do I read the second part too? The school board recommends $5,043,607.22 for additional local funds and gives the following reasons for exceeding the state's essential programs and services funding model by $5,043,607.22. This amount is needed to cover the school department's expenses that are not recognized or fully funded by the state's funding model: facilities maintenance costs, special education costs, technology costs, transportation costs, professional development costs, and system administration costs.
We have a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
I'm in favor.
All those opposed? Abstentions?
Oh, I voted in favor, sorry, I was reading the next one.
I was like,
There's no practicing. You don't get points for practicing.
It's a big number, I want to make sure I don't choke. Just kidding, I'm just kidding.
Motion passes with one abstention.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask the nature of Councilor O'Halloran's abstention? Is that appropriate at this time, or no, I hadn't heard that there would be an abstention.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I'm
Yeah.
glad to clarify that. My wife works for the school department, and I'm troubled with voting for a budget that her pay is included in, and that's the reason for my abstention.
Has this happened? I imagine other people have had significant others that work for the school department. Is this, it's a personal?
Last year, I abstained. That was my first year.
Yeah, it really is just, again, full disclosure. My wife does work for the school system. I have a different perspective in terms of, since we don't have line item vote and the way that salaries are set, we have zero control over that, so I don't feel like there's a conflict, but that's a personal choice. So,
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay.
Now that you've practiced.
City Council Order 050823D, ordered that the City of Ellsworth will authorize the school board to expend for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023, and ending June 30th, 2024, from the school administrative unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, non-state funded school construction projects, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20A, Section 15690, unexpended balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, and other receipts for the support of schools. The recommended amount is $26,615,180.12.
Motion.
That's the motion, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Second.
And we have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
I'm in favor.
All those opposed? Abstentions? One abstention. Motion passes with one abstention. So the remaining items can be all taken as one motion.
Do you want me to read them all at once? EF.
Somebody has.
EPA. Okay. City Council Order 050823E, ordered that the City of Ellsworth appropriate $193,193.64 for adult education and raise $293,193.64 as the local share with authorization to expend any additional incidental or miscellaneous receipts in the interest and for the well-being of the adult education program. City Council Order 050823F, ordered that the city authorizes that the sum of $73,237.51 is hereby raised for all other expenditures, the food service program, for fiscal year 2023 to 2024, and that the Ellsworth School Department is authorized to expend any unexpended balances and additional incidental or miscellaneous receipts in the interest and for the well-being of the food service program. City Council Order 050823G, ordered that in addition to amounts approved for the fiscal year 2023-24 school operating budget, the school board be hereby authorized to expend such other sums as may be received from federal or state grants or programs or other sources during the fiscal year for school purposes, provided that such grants, programs, or other sources do not require the expenditure of other funds not appropriated for the school operating budget. City Council Order 050823H, ordered that the city authorizes the school board to appropriate from the ending balance of the school general operating funds for the fiscal year, I think those are supposed to say 2022-23? Okay. For the fiscal year 2022-23 to establish a reserve for special education in the amount of $200,000. City Council Order 050823I, ordered that the city authorizes the school board to appropriate from the ending balance of the school general operating funds for the fiscal year 2022-23 to establish a reserve for student transportation in the amount of $100,000. City Council Order 050823J, ordered that the city authorize the school board to appropriate from the ending balance of the school general operating funds for the fiscal year 2022-23 to add to the existing reserve for minor capital projects in the amount of $200,000. City Council Order 050823K, ordered that the city authorizes the school board to appropriate from the ending balance of the HCTC general operating funds for the fiscal year 2022-23 to establish a reserve for HCTC minor capital projects in the amount of $100,000.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. An amendment, friendly amendment would be to that if the state, for some reason, increases their share of subsidy, that any increase would come back to the city council for decisions of appropriating the dollars out.
I accept that amendment to my motion.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Opposed? Abstentions? One abstention, motion passes. And just before we adjourn, I just want to thank the school board and personnel for, this is a tough fiscal year, all the way around. And I know that the increases, it's never easy to present to the public increases, but I think you did an exceptional job in terms of communicating and having discussion, much more than I've seen, and I appreciate that. I think that involvement of we're one city, and being able to have conversations and understand what's going on is really important in being able to make decisions. Doesn't mean we're always going to be in agreement, but it's essential. So I really appreciate the fact that you took the time to come to a lot of different types of meetings, Finance Committee, the detail in which you presented the information, the transparency in terms of the information. I just felt that it was really positive, and I know it's a big impact. The community now will have a chance to vote on it, and I hope that they reach out if they have questions so that they can understand it the way that you provide the information to us. And I'll open up to anyone else if there are any other comments.
I'll add to that just a bit. On top of the demonstration of an incredible knowledge of line items, line by line of the budget, there was also an incredible compassion for the teachers and the students. I mean, there was certainly compromising back and forth with the council, but there was never compromising positions of teacher, faculty, or quality of education for the students. So I just want the voters who maybe are just tuning in now to know that there has been so much work put in, an incredible amount of work from the superintendent and their committee and the school board, that by the time it gets to the ballot, it's been worked and reworked with so much thought. So people who are voting on it should be confident in that.
All right. There's only one motion left?
Well, before you do that,
Oh.
if I could, please.
Not yet.
The clerk just wanted me to let the public know that May 16th, we'll start the absentee voting for the school budget election, which will be held on June 29th. And just wanted to remind the public that we do have a budget workshop this Thursday at 6 o'clock here at City Hall. And the Green Ellsworth will be presenting, and then you all will be discussing, hopefully, some final tweaks to the city budget. That's all.
Thank you. Now,
Move to adjourn.
that's the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?